This video will show you how I went about making this double thickness pallet wood dog kennel for under 38 Australian dollars. Start with processing a few pallets, create a rough plan, using some old conveyor belt as my base size. For the base frame, I am using the pallet stringers, cutting off the nails with the angle grinder because it is quicker than removing them. Mark them out, cutting them to length, pre-drill and countersink. I'm using chipboard screws because they are affordable. Simple frame with a center support. I bought these angle clamps a few years ago for $14 for a pack of 4 off of eBay. They are cheap and crappy but come in handy. Constantly checking that the build is square. Attach a paling either end, lay the rest in between, measure the gap, rip a paling to that width, and tap it into position. Using a straight edge to mark, drill the holes with a depth gauge set to the thickness of the palings. Attach with chipboard screws. Mark the overhang and cut all the palings to length. Rough cleanup with a 40 grit flap disc on the angle grinder, and he likes it already. First wall paling, second wall paling, 800mm bottom, 800 at the top, checking for square, and the other way, attaching the top of the palings to a ripped 50mm paling. Repeat the same steps for the shorter side. Horizontal attachment beam on the front face of the kennel, keeping the vertical palings longer than the slant of the roof. 300mm door opening, adding a paling to create the pitch of the roof, straight edge to mark, cut off the overhangs. Repeat for the back wall minus the door. Cutting along the upper edge to match the angle of the front and back walls. More pallet stringers for the frame of the removable roof. Cut off the nails, rip them down the center, lay it on top, butt the speed square up against it and mark your cut. Same for the other end. Cut 3 of these and keep them snug enough so they won't fall. I attached a temporary paling so I could see where to start the roof. The high side of the kennel will not have an overhang because I want it to lay flush up against the side of the house. The overhang paling on the lower side has nothing to attach to yet, but once the double thickness top is on, I can attach that from the underside. Clamping and squaring up the first double thickness top piece, removing the temporary paling, correcting the angle and reattaching. Completely covering in the side to make it double thickness, this time running the palings horizontally and attaching them from the inside to hide the screws. Double thickness roof, flip it over to attach from the underside, cut off all the overhangs. Give the roof a rough sand. Double thickness for the lower side, same for the front. Mark and cut the roof angles, then attach from the inside. Repeating the same thing for the back wall. I am using a water-based exterior stain in the color Merbau, watered down to a 1:1 ratio. For the edge details, I ripped some palings at 45 degrees, cut them to length, then attached them. I mixed a dark blue with cheap poster paint, removed the edging to paint them, made a simple 45-degree angle frame for around the door. I was too snug with my measurements and was off a couple of millimeters, took a little off with the table saw, checked the fit, then repainted the edge. Added a simple frame around the lid. I use paving sealer to protect my outdoor builds because it is a hell of a lot cheaper than the clear coats for timber, and I honestly really like the low sheen finish. Water that down to a 1:1 ratio and you've made it even cheaper. First coat soaks in nicely, second coat sits perfectly on top. This project came in under 38 Australian dollars. Pallet wood is free. Half a box of 25mm chipboard screws is $8. 1/3 of a box of 40mm screws is $9. Small pack of 100mm chipboard screws is $3.50. I used 250 milliliters of stain, which works out to be $13. The poster paint comes in under $1, and 200 milliliters of pavement sealer worked out to be $3.50. This dog kennel is thick and warm. He sleeps in it all the time, so I guess he likes it.